Welcome to another video in the JavaScript tutorial series, and in this video we'll be looking at variables. Variables are basically containers of data in a program, which means you can store any form of variables, any form of data in the variables, be it strings, numbers, and so on. There are three types of variables in JavaScript. Let me just type them out: var, let, and const. Const. All right, so these are the three types of variables that are present in JavaScript. Let us just look at these one by one. All right, now let me just type item1, and in a local scope I'll type item2. all right, don't worry about what if is, we'll be covering it later, but let's just look at this. Item1 is a global scope variable, which means anything that is here can be accessed anywhere. all right, anything that is global, like item1, can be accessed throughout the code. all right, there are no blocks of code restraining it, and it can be accessed throughout this code. And let me just come to item2 now. If we see item2, it's a local scope variable. all right, if item2 is mentioned here, it cannot be mentioned elsewhere. If it is declared here, item2 is declared here, the variable is declared here, it can't be mentioned elsewhere outside the code, outside this block of code. So item2 is pertaining to this block of code, and it can be only manipulated within this part of code itself. all right, so coming to var, let, and const, let's see var first. Var item1 is equals to sword. Let me just give this a name. So item1 sword is a string. Let me just give this a name too. Var item2 is equals to shield. all right, so we have two variables, item1 and item2, both are var type variables, and let's just print item1, which is the global scope variable. Sorry, let me just refresh the page. Yeah, let me just run this now. As you can see in the console, you get sword. all right, that's what we are printing here. Item1 is sword, and that's what we are printing in this local scope. So it doesn't matter where you use global scope, it always can be used elsewhere or anywhere. all right, so let me just remove this and type this outside scope. Let me just change this item1 to item2 and see what we get now. As you can see, shield is printed here. Now I just said earlier that anything that is defined here is a local scope variable and cannot be accessed outside, right? But why is it acting like this? It's because of var. That's how var works. all right, no matter where you specify a var type variable, it acts as a global variable. all right, it can be accessed anywhere in the program. So that's one point of var that's unique about it. Now let's come to let and see the difference between these. Let me just switch both of these to let type variables and see the difference. Now if I try to print item1 here, it will show the same result as a var. That's item1 gets printed. That's the global scope. So let me just try printing item2 now. all right, this is where the difference lies. all right, and you get an error here, a reference error, item2 is undefined. So this is what I was talking about, local scope. all right, let allows item2 to be local to this block of code, and hence you can't access item2 elsewhere. But var, in case of var, anything that is specified anywhere, that is even in blocks of code, is global. So you can see the difference there. And now let's just try const. all right, let me just switch this both to const and see what we get here. I'll try printing item 2 now, like we did earlier, and it shows an error again. Item 2 is not defined. So in a sense, let and const act in a similar manner, but we'll see a difference now. All right, and that is, I'll just move this up here in this block of code, and I'll just run this for the sake of running it. All right, let me just show this how. Let me just show this, and yeah, item 2 gets printed. Yeah, shield. All right, that's what we're printing here, and that's because both are local. Now let me just try changing item 2 to something else. All right, I'm changing the variable here, the value of this variable, to sphere. All right, let me just try printing this now and see what we get. And yeah, let me just run this. 1 second. Yeah, as you can see, uncaught type error assignment to constant variable at 9. So you can't actually change anything that is a constant variable. Yeah, const stands for constant, so and item 2 is a constant variable, so it's fixed to shield. You can't change it again. Let me just try running this again and see that, yeah, assignment to constant variable is not possible. That's an error. All right, now let me just switch this to let and see what we get. All right, so in this case we will have sphere printed because let is not a non-changeable variable type, so item 2 is changeable in this case, so we get sphere here. As you can see, both constant let are different yet similar in one way. So if I just change this to var here, there's no difference. Let me just run this and see what we get. We get sphere again. So as you can see, let and const, let and var both are changeable, whereas const is not changeable. Var acts as a global scope variable every time, whereas let and const both act locally, and that's what is the difference. Now in case of a real scenario where you are in a development environment, you will mostly use const because you don't want your variables to be changed at any point of time, and you'll be mostly using const, but it all depends on the use case, and let and var both are viable options too, so they exist, and they exist for a reason. So this is all about var, let and const, and thank you for watching this video.